Prologue. The thing he told me, not the details, but the weight of it, the way he carried it. 6 minutes. Never again. Not on my watch. Not anyone. I think about all the places he has put his body between me and something wrong and how every single time he has let me make the call. He has never once made the call for me. He just made sure he was there. He's getting better at the how, I say. Something in Sophia's face opens slightly. Yeah, she says. I think so too. The door opens. Margaret Chu comes back in with her notepad full of writing and looks at us both and says, "Where is Dante? I need him in this conversation." Sophia and I look at each other. "I'll go get him," Sophia says. She stands up and buttons her coat and she looks at me for a moment before she goes. Not a long look. Just enough. "He's lucky you're precise," she says. "He needs someone who sees clearly." She goes out into the corridor and I sit at the table with the folder and the cold coffee and the city in the window and I think about what it means to be seen by the right person. Not catalogued. Not investigated. Not managed. Just seen. Chapter 22. The difference. Dante's POV. Dante's apartment Sunday evening. Sophia blindsides me in the corridor outside the rink. Not the content. I know before she's finished the first sentence where this is going and what Marcus has done, because the geometry of the past 3 months has been pointing at exactly this and the only surprise is that I didn't get there faster. The content is not the blind side. The blind side is that she talked to Ivy first. "You drove 2 hours," I say, "and your first stop was not your brother." "Correct," she says. "Sophia. She needed to know before you did," she says. This was done in her name. She gets the information first. I look at my sister in the corridor outside the practice rink still in her traveling coat with her chin up and her dark eyes steady and I think about the fact that these 2 women have been in the same room for 40 minutes without me and whatever they said to each other has already happened and I'm not going to find out all of it and I'm going to have to be okay with that. "How is she?" I say. "She's good." A pause. "She's really good, Dante." She was going through the file with Margaret when I walked in. She'd already called her lawyer. She was building the case. Sophia looks at me. She didn't need rescuing. She needed the information. I hear that. I hear it properly. We spend the afternoon in Margaret's office, me, Ivy, Sophia, Margaret, and Christine Barros on speakerphone from Columbus. Marcus's threats to Sophia are now part of the formal record. Christine has language for what it constitutes legally and it is not the language of a situation that ends quietly. The HR process on Mercer has been initiated, formal review, temporary reassignment off the first line pending outcome. Ownership has been briefed. Coach Hartley has been briefed again. The machinery is moving. Clean and institutional and exactly the way things should move when they have enough documentation behind them. Ivy is across the conference table from me for 4 hours. She is precise and clear and she refers to her own documents in an organized way that makes Christine say, on the phone, "You've been keeping good records, this is excellent." Ivy doesn't say thank you. She says, "I started the habit 3 years ago." I catch her eye once, in the middle of the 3rd hour, when something in the documentation aligns in a way that changes the shape of the case significantly. She looks at me. I look at her. Neither of us says anything. Neither of us needs to. Afterward, in the corridor, as Sophia is getting her coat and Margaret is locking the office, Ivy stops beside me. "Tonight," she says. Quietly. "If you're..." "Yes," I say. She nods once. She comes to my apartment at 7. I open the door and she comes in and she has her camera bag over one shoulder, she takes it everywhere, it's part of her body at this point, and she looks at me in the entryway and I look at her and there is a month of things between us that haven't been spoken yet. "Do you want coffee?" I say. "Yes." I go to the kitchen. I start the coffee. I keep my hands busy, measuring, pressing, the specific routine of it, because when I'm vulnerable I need something to do with my hands and I have been walking around with this letter folded in my jacket pocket for 10 days and tonight is the night and I don't know what to do with the space between handing it to her and knowing what happens after. "Dante." I turn around. She's standing at the kitchen entrance, camera bag still on her shoulder. Her hand is out. I know what she's asking for. I reach into my inside pocket. The letter has been folded so many times the creases are soft now, worn almost to cloth at the corners. I hold it for 1 second. Then I cross the kitchen and I put it in her hand. She takes it. She looks at it, my handwriting on the outside, her name, nothing else. She goes to the table and she sits down and she opens it. I turn back to the coffee. I make the coffee slowly. I clean the counter that doesn't need cleaning. I arrange 2 mugs in a way that requires no arrangement. I listen to the specific quality of silence that comes from a person reading something carefully, the kind of silence that has attention in it, that has weight. The letter is 3 pages, handwritten. It doesn't apologize for the care. I was clear on that from the start. I am not going to apologize for caring about her safety because the caring is real and apologies for real things are dishonest. It apologizes for the specific decision I made about information that belonged to her. For building a picture of her without her permission and then managing the timing of when she got to know it existed. For the gap between what I told myself I was doing and what I was actually doing, which was, underneath the protection, underneath the genuine intent, controlling the one thing I could control because everything else felt out of my hands. I wrote about Sophia. Not the night, she knows the shape of it, but what it did to me. How it calcified. How I learned to read rooms and track angles and position myself in every space before anything could go wrong, and how somewhere in the years between Detroit and Blackhaven that stopped being a response to trauma and started being just who I am. A man who stands in front of things. Who manages perimeters. Who decides, from behind a wall of good intentions, what other people can handle. I wrote that I know the difference between that and what Marcus Webb does. I know it and I need her to know I know it. But I also wrote that knowing the difference and never making the mistake are not the same thing. That I will make it again. That I am trying, specifically and actively, to learn how to be present without being a wall. I wrote, you told me in the diner that you understood your photography was yours when you found yourself framing shots without the camera in your hands. I need to learn the equivalent of that. I need to learn how to care about someone without turning the caring into architecture around them. I don't know how to do that yet. I'm telling you this because you deserve to know exactly what you're working with. The last paragraph is short. 7 lines. I'm not going to repeat them here. They're hers. The coffee is ready. I pour it. I turn around. She's looking at the last page. Her face is doing the thing, the stillness before something shows. I watch her read the last paragraph. I watch something move through her expression, quiet and significant, like a change in light. She folds the letter. Once, twice. She looks at it for a moment, this folded thing with its soft corners and my handwriting and 10 days of being carried. Then she reaches down and she opens her camera bag and she puts it inside. I look at where she put it. Not in the main compartment. In the interior pocket, the small one with the zip, the one I've never seen her put anything in except once, when she put a photograph of her father's studio in it while we were on the bus and didn't know I was watching. She puts the letter in that pocket. She zips it. She looks at me. I'm going to need you, she says, to let me be the one who decides what I'm strong enough for. Yeah, I say. I put the mugs on the table and I sit across from her and I look at her face, steady, clear, the gray eyes that clock everything, and I mean it. Not as a performance of meaning it. As the actual thing. I know, I say. Can you do that? The question sits in the air between us. Not a challenge, a real question. She's asking because she needs to know, not because she's testing me, and that's the kind of question that deserves a real answer rather than a quick one. I look at her the way I look at play development, reading the movement behind the movement, the intention behind the action, the thing that's really being asked underneath the words. She's asking whether I can live in a version of this that doesn't have me between her and every difficulty. Whether I can care about someone without turning the caring into a crease I won't let anything get past. Whether I can trust her with her own life. I'm going to spend the rest of my life learning how, I say. She holds my gaze. Then she picks up her coffee mug and she wraps both hands around it the way she always does and she looks at it for a moment and she says, quietly, that's the right answer. Yeah. It's honest. She looks up. I don't need you to have it figured out. I need you to not pretend you do. I nod. The file, she says. The investigation, the HR process, the legal track, I want to be in those rooms. Every meeting, every decision. You will be, I say. You already are. And when you know something about my situation, she says, you tell me. Even if you think I can't handle it. Even if the timing feels wrong. You tell me and you let me decide. Yes. She looks at me steadily. I need you to know, she says carefully, that what you did in that corridor with Cole, I understand why you did it. I know you kept it clean. I know you went through the right channels. She pauses. I also know it was for me and she stops. Starts again. Thank you doesn't cover it. But I need you to know I saw it. I don't say you're welcome because it wasn't a transaction. I just say, okay. She nods. We sit at the kitchen table and we drink our coffee and the city runs in the east window and it is ordinary and enormous at the same time, this moment, this kitchen, this woman across the table who has been through the worst of something and come out the other side with steady hands and a locked folder full of evidence and the specific kind of precision that can only be earned. After a while she reaches across the table and puts her hand over mine. She doesn't say anything. Neither do I. Chapter 23. The climax. Ivy's POV. Ivy's apartment building Wednesday night. I file the no-contact order on Monday morning. Not quietly, I want to be clear about that. I don't tell Dante because I don't need to tell Dante, not because I'm hiding it. I tell Christine Barros and I tell Margaret Chu and I tell Patrick Lau at the team because the order has implications for Marcus's press credentials and the organization needs to know. I tell the 3 people who need to know and I go to the Franklin County digital filing system and I complete every box I started 3 years ago and I press submit and I watch the confirmation number generate on the screen. I screenshot it. I put it in the folder. I have been building that folder for 3 years and it has everything in it now. Everything. The texts, the photographs, the visitor log, the credential records, the email chain Faro found, the 4 emails Marcus sent to Sophia's organizational account, the phone records tying Kevin Marsh to Marcus and Marcus to Cole Mercer. The protection order application that I started and stopped. Completed now. Filed. The lock screen on my phone has Christine's number at the top of my speed dial. The building manager has been notified. The front door camera has been confirmed operational by maintenance. My recording app is set to activate with 1 tap from the home screen. I have been doing this long enough to know that corners make men do stupid things. I have been doing this long enough to know that when the process closes in, some men go quiet and some men go toward the problem and I have read Marcus Webb for 3 years and I know which one he is. I know this is coming. I am ready for it. He comes on Wednesday. I'm in my apartment at 8:15 p.m., on my couch with my laptop and the Wolves game running quietly on the TV in the background. Home game, they're winning. I checked the box score an hour ago. I'm editing the selects from last week's practice when my phone buzzes. The building's front door camera alert, I set it to notify me for any entry after 8 p.m. I look at the screen. Marcus Webb in the lobby camera. Dark jacket, hands in his pockets, standing at the intercom panel. He hasn't buzzed my unit yet. He's standing there, deciding. I watch him for 12 seconds. Then I tap the recording app. 1 tap. The icon turns red. Recording. I put on my shoes and I pick up my phone and I go out of my apartment and I take the stairs to the lobby, not the elevator, because I want to hear the lobby before I enter it. At the bottom of the stairwell I push the door open 2 inches and I look through the gap. He's still at the intercom. His back is to me. He hasn't buzzed yet. He's on his phone, reading something, I can't see the screen. His weight is forward, toward the panel, the specific posture of a man who is building up to something. I call 911. I do it right there in the stairwell door gap, quiet and controlled, the way I do everything. Dispatcher picks up in 7 seconds and I give the address and I say, a man is in my building lobby who is subject to a no-contact order filed Monday, case number, and I give the case number from the screenshot I have saved at the top of my phone photos. The dispatcher starts the response. I give my name and unit number and I say I am safe and inside and the subject has not made contact yet. I hang up. I put my phone in my pocket with the recording still running. Then I push through the stairwell door and I walk into the lobby. He turns when he hears the door. I watch his face go through its sequence, surprise, recalibration, the reaching for the right expression. He lands on the smile. He always lands on the smile. Ivy. His voice is easy. Practiced. I was going to buzz up. I know, I say. I stay near the stairwell door. 12 feet between us. Good sightline to the front entrance. I keep my voice completely level, my weight balanced, my hands visible and still. I look at him the way I look at a frame before I shoot, reading the light, reading the distance, knowing exactly what I'm looking at. I shouldn't be here, he says, and the fact that he says it first means he knows about the order. I know I shouldn't be here. But I needed to talk to you before all of this. There is a no-contact order, I say. Filed Monday. You are in violation of it by being in this building. Ivy. I have called 911. Officers are on their way. Something moves through his face. The smile doesn't entirely leave, it's built into the muscles at this point, it's not really a choice anymore, but the thing behind it shifts. Recalculates. He looks at my hands and I know he's reading them the way he always read them, looking for the shake, looking for the tell that I'm bluffing or afraid or going to collapse under his particular kind of gravity. My hands are still. They have always been still. I'm not going to hurt you, he says. He takes a step forward. Stop, I say. He stops. Not because I'm larger than him or louder than him. Because my voice has exactly one thing in it right now, certainty, and certainty from someone who has been underestimated for 3 years has a specific weight to it. I watch him feel the weight. You published an article using information obtained through a person you coerced into providing it, I say. You've been threatening a private individual's assault survivor with publication of her experience unless her brother complied with your personal agenda. You sent a man to my workplace on your press credential on my first night working here. I hold his gaze. I have documentation on all of it. The team's legal team has documentation on all of it. My lawyer has documentation on all of it. I pause. And my phone is recording this conversation. He stares at me. You're going to want to step back through that door, I say. Right now. Before the officers arrive and this becomes worse than it already is. The smile is fully gone. He's looking at me the way Marcus Webb has never looked at me in 3 years, like he's seeing something he didn't know was there. Like the version of me he built in his head, the version that could be rattled and documented and leveraged back into compliance, is not the person standing in this lobby. He's right. She's not. He takes a step back. Then another. He reaches the front door and he pushes it open and the cold night air comes in and he looks at me from the threshold for one moment, one last recalculation, one last reaching for the right angle, and then he goes. I let out the breath I've been holding and I count to 3 and I go to the intercom panel and I buzz the front desk to confirm the subject has exited and I give my name and case number again and I stand in the lobby of my building with my phone recording and my hands completely still and I wait. 6 minutes. That's how long it takes from the moment I text Dante, one line, he came, I'm okay, police are here, to the moment I see him come through the front door. 6 minutes. He's in street clothes, he came from the arena, the game, still running the final period when I texted, he must have left the bench the moment he read it, and he stops when he sees me standing near the front desk talking to the officer taking my statement. His eyes go over me first. Checking. Looking for what needs looking at. He finds nothing and something in his whole body settles in a way I can see from 15 feet. Then he sees Marcus in the back of the police cruiser visible through the glass of the front door. He looks at the cruiser for a long time. Then he looks at me. I finish giving my statement. The officer takes my recording reference, my documentation, the case number. She's efficient and clear and she tells me a detective will be in touch within 48 hours about the violation and the existing evidence package. She thanks me for having everything ready. She says you were very prepared in the tone people use when they mean something larger than the words. I say, I had a long time to get ready. The officer leaves. The lobby is quiet. The cruiser is still at the curb, I can see it through the glass. Dante walks across the lobby. He stops in front of me. Close. He looks at my face, checking again, the same sweep, reading for what I'm not saying. He looks at my hands. You're okay, he says. Not a question. Yes. You called 911 before he did anything. Yes. You filed the order Monday, he says slowly. 3 days ago. Without telling me. Yes, I say. Because it was mine to file. He looks at me for a long moment. Something in his expression is doing several things at once, the relief, the recognition, the working through of what just happened and who handled it and how. I watch him land on the true thing. The thing underneath the relief. You didn't need me here, he says. No, I say. I didn't need you to save me. He nods. He's still looking at my face. But I'm here. You're here, I say. 6 minutes. Something moves through him at that, I see it, the specific thing, the way those 2 words land on the place where 8 years of guilt has been living. His jaw works once. His eyes don't move from mine. 6 minutes was enough, I say quietly. This time it was enough. He stands in the lobby of my building and he doesn't say anything for a moment and I watch him absorb it, the 6 minutes, the police car, my steady hands, the fact that it's over, and I watch the weight of 8 years of parking garage concrete and fluorescent lights and his sister sitting against a pillar shift, infinitesimally, into something that has slightly more air in it. Not gone. It won't be gone. But different. He reaches out. His hand finds mine, light, asking, the way he always does, and I let it stay. You're the most precise person I've ever met, he says. I know, I say. I mean it as the best thing I know how to say. I know that too. We stand in the lobby of my building with his hand over mine and the police cruiser still at the curb and the city running outside in the cold and I think about a woman who started a form 3 years ago and stopped, and the same woman who completed it Monday morning and filed it and watched the confirmation number generate on the screen. I think about what it means that I handled it. Not survived it. Not endured it. Handled it. My hands are steady. They were always going to be steady. I just needed enough room to find that out. Chapter 24. Saved. Dante's POV Blackhaven Arena Game 7. The ice is different tonight. Not physically, same dimensions, same temperature, same boards and glass and the same crease I've stood in for 3 seasons. But the air above it is different. The air above it is 15,000 people who have been waiting for this moment since October and have arrived at April with every game, every road trip, every penalty kill and power play and overtime and heartbreak stacked inside them and nowhere left to put it except tonight. I put my mask on. The crowd noise lifts. I skate my pregame arc, right post to left post, easy stride, reading the surface, reading the light. I do this before every game. The motion is always the same. Tonight it feels different and I know why and I'm not going to examine it right now because there is a game to play and the examination can happen later. I find her at the boards on my second arc. She's at ice level, prone on the mat, already working, the 300mm pointed toward the face-off circle at the far end. She doesn't look up. She's in it already, in the zone she goes to when the camera is up, that specific focused absence that I've spent a season learning to recognize from 100 feet. She's wearing the gray jacket. The camera bag is sealed and positioned exactly behind her right elbow, where she always puts it so she can reach it without looking. I complete the arc. I go back to my crease. I drop into my stance and I look at the ice and I let everything that has happened in the last 4 months settle into its proper position, not away, not suppressed, but placed. Filed. I'm a man who reads angles. I know exactly what's behind me and what's in front of me and tonight, for the first time in 8 years, both of those things feel like mine. The puck drops. The game is what a Game 7 always is, which is to say it is completely unreasonable. Every shift is played like the last shift. Every line change is contested. Every face-off is an argument. The crowd is so loud by the end of the first period that the sound has stopped being sound and become something physical, a pressure against the glass, against the boards, against the back of my neck in the crease. I stop 12 in the first. 2 of them are the kind of save that earns its own highlight, the second one, a breakaway in the final minute, where I go post to post in one motion and get a toe on a shot that should have been a goal and somehow isn't. I don't celebrate. I reset. I look down the ice at Reyes and he's already driving back toward the face-off circle and there are 19 minutes left in the period and none of this means anything yet. Second period the game tightens. The visiting team's system adjusts, they stop running at me and start working the corners, trying to build pressure along the boards. Smarter. It's the right adjustment. My team holds it, but it costs us energy, and by the second intermission I can see it in the way the guys are moving, heavier steps, slightly slower transitions. I don't look at the boards in the second period. Not once. I trust she's there. Third period. We score first. 4 minutes in, Reyes on a deflection that comes off a wrist shot from the point, the kind of ugly goal that looks like a broken play until it's in the net and then it looks like exactly what you meant to do. The arena goes vertical. I watch Reyes celebrate with his arms up and his mouth open, and I feel something in my chest that is warm and specific and entirely unrelated to the fact that we're now 1 goal from the championship. They tie it with 11 minutes left. I don't move for 3 seconds after it goes in. I track it, the shot, the screen, the left pad that was a quarter inch out of position. I find the error, I file it, I move on. The crowd goes quiet in the particular way that 15,000 people go quiet when something bad happens collectively, not silent, just a half step of stunned. Then they come back. Louder than before. I reset in the crease. Reyes skates by and taps my pad without stopping. I don't look up. I'm already reading the next face-off. The final minutes of a tied Game 7 are their own kind of silence inside the noise. Everything slows down. Every possession feels like it contains the whole season inside it. Both teams are running on the specific fuel that only exists when the alternative to winning is going home and staying there. I stopped 23 shots in the third period. 23 of 23. With 41 seconds left, still tied, their top line gets a 2-on-1 off a turnover in the neutral zone. I watch it develop, 2 players, 1 defender caught on the wrong side, wide open ice, the worst situation you can be in as a goalie because there's no help coming and the shooter has time to make you choose. I choose. I know what the shooter does on 2-on-1s, I've watched his footage, I know his tendencies, I know that he fakes the pass 60% of the time and then pulls back to his forehand. I know this and I stay with him and I wait, which is the hardest thing in hockey, the waiting, when every instinct says move and the discipline says hold until you know. He fakes the pass. He pulls to the forehand. I'm already there. Pad. Post. Gone. The crowd sound hits me like weather. The play comes back up the ice and the clock runs and there are 6 seconds left when the puck goes in the corner and there are 3 seconds and 2 seconds and the defender freezes it against the boards and the referee blows the whistle and the buzzer sounds and the score is still tied and we are going to overtime. I take my water bottle off the back of the net. I drink. I skate to the bench. I listen to Hartley for 30 seconds without hearing the words because my body is still processing the 2-on-1 and my mind is already building the overtime geometry. Carvello. Hartley's voice, direct. I look at him. You're perfect tonight. We're tied, I say. He almost smiles. Go win it. Overtime lasts 4 minutes and 17 seconds. I stop 3 shots. The third one, from the right wing, mid-range, heavy, goes off my glove and takes a bad bounce toward the slot and for 1 second, 1 single second, I think it's going in. I track it. I move. The post catches it and it rings out and I breathe and I'm already moving before the puck clears the zone. Reyes wins it. A one-timer from the point, set up by a pass he shouldn't have been able to make at that speed, that hits the top corner before the goalie at the other end has finished moving. I know it's in before it crosses the line. I know by the sound of it. The arena comes completely apart. I don't move for a moment. Just stand in the crease. The noise is enormous around me and the team is pouring off the bench and someone has their arms around me from behind and someone else is hitting my mask and I let it happen and I stand in the crease for 5 more seconds and I look at the scoreboard and I look at the final time and I look at the ice. The whole ice. My whole ice. Then I take my mask off. It takes me 4 minutes to find her. The celebration is its own kind of chaos, players, staff, the first wave of media already on the ice, cameras and microphones and people moving in every direction without any particular logic. I move through it the way I move through everything, reading the crowd, tracking the perimeter. She's at the boards. The exact boards. The exact section of rinkside barrier near the home tunnel where she was standing on opening night when a drunk man pressed too close and I moved him and looked at her once and walked away. She has her camera up, the arena runs its enormous sounds around us and the lights are too bright and the music is too loud and her hand is still on my chest and I am standing on the ice I have owned for 3 seasons and I feel, for the first time since I was 19 years old laughing at a joke I can't remember, completely unguarded. Not unprotected. Unguarded. There's a difference. I spent 8 years confusing them. I'm not confused anymore. For the record, I don't do feelings. I've never done feelings. I stand in front of rubber discs going 90 miles an hour for a living because I'm good at blocking things. What I did not account for, what no amount of footage, no amount of game film, no amount of studying the shot before it comes, is this woman. She got through every single time. Not because I didn't see her coming. I saw her from the first night. I tracked every approach, read every angle, knew exactly where she was going to land. I let her through anyway. And I realized, somewhere around the 3rd period, that I stopped trying to stop her. That's the whole thing. That's all of it. I don't stop everything after all. Just the things that should be stopped. Epilogue. The frame. Ivy's POV. The Meridian Gallery, Blackhaven 1 year later. The photograph is 30 inches by 40 inches and it is hanging on the center wall of a small gallery on a Thursday evening in April and there are 63 people in this room and I know the exact count because I counted them twice when I arrived. Old habit, read the room before you enter it. The photograph is of a man on a bus. His profile. A window. City lights blurring into streaks of white and gold. The kind of motion blur that only happens when something outside the frame is moving fast and the thing inside the frame is perfectly still. He doesn't know he's being photographed. That's the whole point. That's the thing that makes it what it is, the complete absence of performance, of arrangement, of any face a person puts on when they know someone is watching. Just him. Just the window. Just the city going past behind him like all cities go past behind people who are sitting very still inside their own thoughts. I took it in October on a bus to Lansing and I knew when I took it that it was the best photograph I had ever made. I was right. The exhibit is called Season. 34 photographs from 1 year with the Blackhaven Wolves. Game shots, practice shots, behind the boards shots, corridor shots, the small moments between the large ones. 33 of them are good. Some of them are very good. One of them is the bus photograph. It hangs in the center of the main wall and the gallery owner, a woman named Frida who has been doing this for 22 years and says exactly what she thinks, told me last week during the hang that it was the photograph people would stop in front of. She said, the others show the sport. This one shows the men. There's a difference and everyone in the room will feel it even if they can't say why. She was right. People stop in front of it. I watch them stop from across the room, where I have been standing for 40 minutes with a glass of wine I keep forgetting to drink, talking to the arts editor from the Blackhaven Courier about the technical elements of ice-level photography, and watching the room the way I always watch rooms, cataloging the light and the movement and the small human moments between the large official ones. Marcus Webb's charges were resolved in December. He took a plea on the harassment count and the protection order violation. No jail time. I knew going in that was unlikely, and Christine told me straight and I believed her and I chose to go forward anyway because the plea deal included permanent revocation of his press credentials at every professional sports venue in the region. He can write. He can publish. He cannot be in those buildings anymore. That's what I needed. His outlet ran a note in November about his departure from their staff. It was 3 sentences. It cited a mutual decision to part ways. I read it once and took a screenshot and put it in the folder and closed the folder and left it closed. Cole Mercer was traded in February. A team in Nevada picked him up for a 3rd-round pick and a prospect. The locker room cleared out the day the trade was announced and nobody mentioned it again, the way you don't mention a leak after it's been fixed, not because people aren't relieved, just because there's nothing more to say. I'm told Nevada is warm in winter. Priya is near the drinks table holding 2 glasses of wine and talking to the Wolves' new PR coordinator, a man named Jordan who has been here 3 months and is still slightly bewildered by everything, which Priya tells me is a good sign. She catches my eye across the room and does a small subtle gesture toward the door with her chin that means look who just came in, and I follow the direction and I see Sophia. She's in a dark coat and she's looking at the photographs along the near wall in the focused way she has when she's actually engaging with something rather than performing engagement. She moves slowly from frame to frame. She reads the wall text beside each one. She stops at the small print of the locker room corridor shot, the one I took after the first playoff win, the empty corridor with the celebration noise still faintly audible in the motion blur of a distant figure, and she stands there for a long time. I don't go to her yet. I let her have the photographs first. They're meant to be experienced alone before they're talked about, and she understands that without being told. Dante arrived 20 minutes before the doors opened. He was standing outside on the pavement in jeans and a dark collared shirt when the gallery coordinator unlocked the front door, and I was inside doing final checks, and she came to find me and said there's a very large man outside who says he's early, and I said let him in. He came in and he walked through the whole exhibit once, slowly, without saying anything to me or to the coordinator or to anyone. I watched him from the doorway of the back room. He stopped at the bus photograph for 6 minutes. I know because I counted. When he came to find me, he was holding 2 glasses of wine he'd picked up from somewhere, and he looked at me in the way he has been looking at me for a year now, with the full weight of his attention, nothing managed, nothing measured, and he said, "It's the one." I said, "I know." He handed me one of the glasses. He said, "I look like I'm thinking about something sad." I said, "You were thinking about something real. That's different." He considered this. Then, okay. Now he is on the far side of the room with 2 glasses of wine, one he picked up somewhere along the way because he does this at events, ends up with 2 glasses without knowing how, and he is standing in the specific position that I have come to recognize as his gallery position. Not in front of any artwork. Not in a cluster of conversation. He's at the angle where he can see the whole room and also, specifically, see me from wherever I am. He's wearing the collar that is visibly not his natural habitat, and he is holding the wine, and he is watching me talk to the arts editor with an expression that I can see from 30 feet and that contains, for anyone who knows how to read him, everything. He would walk through fire before he let anyone dim this night for me. I know this. I don't know how I know it with such certainty after 1 year, but I do. Sophia finds me at 9:15. She comes from the direction of the center wall, and she has her hands folded in front of her and her eyes are wet at the corners in a way she's clearly been managing and not entirely succeeding at managing, and when she reaches me she says nothing for a moment. She just looks at me. "The bus photograph," she says finally. "Yes." "He doesn't know you have it." "He knows it exists," I say. "He doesn't know I entered it." She shakes her head. Not with criticism, with something that is mostly wonder and slightly exasperated affection, the specific frequency she reserves for things her brother does. "He's going to stand in front of it and realize you've been carrying that for a year." "I have," I say. "And you didn't tell him." "It was mine," I say. "I took it. What I do with what I take is my call." Something moves through her face. The corner of her mouth lifts. It's a Carvello expression, I know it now. I have a whole year of reference for it, the idea of a smile arriving at the door and deciding to come in after all. "Yeah," she says. "It is." She hugs me then, quick, firm, the hug of a woman who means it and is not going to make a production of it, and she goes back toward the center wall where her brother's photograph hangs in the middle of everything. I watch her stand in front of it. She puts her hand over her mouth. She doesn't look away. At 10:15 the gallery starts to quiet. People collect their coats, say the things people say at the end of evenings like this, move toward the door in 2s and 3s. I stand near the door saying goodnight, and I watch the room empty, and I think about a year that started with a drunk man near a tunnel and a goalie who didn't say a word and a photograph I took in the background of a frame I never meant to use. Dante comes to stand beside me as the last guests leave. He has both glasses of wine again. He hands me one without looking at it. I take it. We stand in the emptying gallery and the coordinator is doing her closing walk of the room and Frida is near the back speaking to the lighting technician, and it is almost over, this evening, this room, this version of a night I have been building toward for a year. "The bus photograph," he says. "Yes." "You entered it." "Yes." He is quiet for a moment. Beside me. His shoulder against mine the way it has been since a Sunday afternoon on a couch when I told him things I don't tell anyone and he said don't apologize for talking. "I look like I'm thinking about something real," he says. I look up at him. "You were." "What was I thinking about?" I look at the photograph across the room, 30 by 40, center wall, the city blurring behind the men who didn't know he was being seen. "I don't know," I say. "That's the photograph. I don't know what's in it." I just know it's true. He looks at it for a while. Okay, he says. Okay, I say. The lights dim slightly as Frida begins the closing sequence. The gallery goes warm and quiet and the photographs sit on their walls and the bus photograph sits in the center of all of them and I look at it from across the room and I think about what it means that I took it before I knew what I was doing and what I think it means now, a year later, standing next to the men in it. I used to think the camera was the distance between me and everything that could hurt me. The glass between my face and the world, clear enough to see through, solid enough to stand behind. I spent years in that distance. Years framing things from the safe side of the lens, cataloging and documenting and proving I was there without actually being there, because being there meant being visible and visible meant reachable and reachable meant someone could decide what to do with you. I know now that the camera was never the distance. It was the record. It's the proof that I was here, that I saw clearly, that I survived and then, eventually, that I did more than survive. Every photograph I have ever taken is evidence that I showed up. That I kept my hand steady and my eye on the frame and I pressed the shutter and I let the image come through without being afraid of what I'd find. That's what my father was doing in his darkroom every day of his life. Not hiding. Recording. Proving the world was real and he was in it and the people he loved were in it with him. I understand that now in a way I didn't before. And standing across the room with 2 glasses of wine and a collar that is very clearly choking him and a look on his face that says he would burn this city to the ground before he let anyone walk into this gallery and make this night smaller, is the man who taught me that surviving isn't the same as living. Not by telling me. Not by standing in front of everything difficult so I didn't have to face it. But by being steady beside me while I faced it myself. By learning, slowly and imperfectly and with full honesty about the learning, how to stand beside instead of in front. I think I always knew how to take the shot. He just helped me stop being afraid of what I'd find when the image came through. He looks at me from across the room. I raise my glass. He raises his. The gallery is quiet. The photographs are on the walls. The bus is somewhere on a dark highway between here and Lansing, and the city lights are still blurring past the window, and the man in the photograph is still exactly himself, and the woman who took it is still here. Still here. Still steady. Still framing the next shot. Author's note. Dear reader. Thank you for spending time with Dante and Ivy. Sin Bin began as a question about what happens when a man who sees everything meets a woman who spent years learning to be invisible. Dante's protectiveness and Ivy's independence were never meant to be in conflict, they were 2 people speaking the same language of survival from opposite sides of the same wall. The arena was the heart of this story from the start. I wanted to explore how proximity changes everything, how a man who reads every angle in a crowd learns to stop reading the one person who doesn't want to be seen, and how a woman with a camera learns to let someone else hold the frame. If this story stayed with you, if Dante's silence or Ivy's steadiness meant something, I would be so grateful if you left a review. Reviews are how independent authors find new readers, and every single one matters more than you know. With gratitude. Arden Blackwell. Acknowledgements. Some books are written in silence. This one was written in the space between a save and a shot. To the readers who believed in a possessive alpha goalie with 0 words and infinite patience, and a photographer who would rather handle her own battles than let anyone hold the door, thank you. You are the reason Dante and Ivy exist outside my head. To every goalie who ever stood in the crease reading the crowd instead of the play because someone in the stands needed watching, Dante is yours. And to every woman who ever picked up a camera and used the viewfinder as armor, Ivy is yours. And to 6-minute intervals that change everything. Some distances are too short to outrun. About the author. Arden Blackwell writes dark romance with sharp edges, complicated men, and characters who refuse to look away. A lifelong devotee of stories where love is neither safe nor simple, Arden Blackwell believes the best fiction lives in the space between what people say and what they mean. Sin Bin is the 5th novel in the Dark Eye series. When not writing, Arden can be found watching hockey with unnecessary emotional investment, collecting photographs of things that don't want to be seen, and standing in doorways for exactly the right amount of time.